She was backing up at 50 miles per hour. A man was running toward her car in the darkness, and she had only one way out, straight through him. What you're about to hear are true stories from America's loneliest highways. Stories that will make you think twice before taking that shortcut, before stopping at that rest area, before trusting that your GPS knows where it's taking you. Welcome to American Gothic, where we explored the darkness hiding in plain sight across America. Tonight's episode is different. We are not talking about haunted houses or urban legends. We are talking about something far more terrifying, because it's far more real. The open road. Every year, millions of Americans take road trips, cross-country journeys, weekend getaways, late-night drives home from work. And most of the time, nothing happens. The journey is uneventful, safe, boring even. But sometimes, not often, but sometimes, the road takes you somewhere you never intended to go, introduces you to people you never wanted to meet, and leaves you with memories that will haunt you for the rest of your life. The stories you're about to hear come from real people, real travelers who encountered real danger on America's highways, back roads, and rest stops. Some escaped by seconds, others by sheer luck. A few by choices they made that they still can't quite explain. These are their stories, and they're all true. 2 a.m. and nowhere. Sarah was somewhere in Arkansas, or maybe Oklahoma. At 2 in the morning, after 12 hours of driving, all the states start to blur together. She'd been on the road since noon, heading from California to Dallas for a job interview. The plan was simple: drive as far as she could each day, stop when exhaustion set in, sleep, repeat. But exhaustion was setting in earlier than expected. Sarah's eyes felt heavy. Her head kept nodding forward. She'd finished her coffee 3 hours ago. The energy drink after that had worn off an hour ago. She needed to stop, needed caffeine, needed to use the restroom. The problem was, she had no idea where she was. The highway stretched endlessly in both directions. Dark, empty, no signs of civilization, just pavement cutting through an ocean of darkness. Then she saw it. A blue sign reflecting her headlights. Rest area 1 mile. The first red flag. Sarah took the exit. The rest area was small, isolated. A single building with a parking lot, surrounded by woods on all sides. No other roads connecting to it. Just the entrance ramp off the highway and an exit ramp back on. As Sarah pulled into the parking lot, she noticed something immediately. Her car was the only one there. The parking lot was completely empty. Not a single vehicle. Not a semi-truck. Not another car. Nothing. The building looked old, outdated, like it hadn't been renovated since the 1970s. A few dim streetlights barely illuminated the area. One light hung next to the building entrance, casting weak yellow light across the concrete. Sarah sat in her car for a moment, engine running, doors locked, looking around. Should she stay? Or should she keep driving and hope for a town? The problem was, she'd been driving for over an hour without seeing anything. No gas stations, no restaurants, no signs indicating civilization ahead. Just endless dark highway through endless dark forest. And her phone signal was spotty, almost non-existent. The GPS on her phone had stopped updating 20 minutes ago. Sarah needed to stop. She knew that. Driving while this tired was dangerous. More dangerous than an empty rest area. She grabbed her pepper spray from the center console, checked that her car doors were locked, took a deep breath. Then she got out. Inside, the restroom building was standard. Men's room on one side, women's on the other. A small lobby in the middle with vending machines and benches. Sarah went into the women's restroom. It was old but relatively clean. She used the facilities, washed her hands, the whole time listening. No sounds from outside, no cars pulling up, no footsteps, just silence. As Sarah stood at the sink washing her hands, she heard something. Footsteps. Someone was in the lobby. Heavy footsteps, moving closer to the women's restroom door. Sarah froze, water running over her hands, heart suddenly pounding. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Then someone started banging on it. Not knocking, banging. Loud, aggressive, like they were trying to break it down. Sarah's mind raced. The door didn't lock. It was a multi-stall restroom. The door just pushed open. Anyone could walk in at any time. So why were they banging instead of entering? The banging continued. 30 seconds. 40 seconds. A full minute. Sarah didn't say anything, didn't call out. Some instinct told her to stay silent. Finally, the banging stopped. The footsteps moved away. Heavy boots on tile, getting quieter. The lobby door opened and closed. Whoever it was had left. Sarah waited. 2 full minutes. Then she crept to the restroom door and pushed it open slightly. Peeked out. The lobby was empty. She walked out quickly, pepper spray in hand, eyes scanning everywhere. The parking lot was still empty. Just her car sitting there under the dim lights. No other vehicles. No sign of whoever had been banging on that door. Sarah walked quickly to her car, got in, locked the doors immediately, started the engine. She needed to leave. Now. The parking lot narrowed at the exit, became a one-lane road that wound through the woods for about 100 yards before merging back onto the highway. Sarah drove down that narrow road. Trees close on both sides, branches reaching overhead. Then she saw him. A man stepped out of the woods directly in front of her car. Sarah slammed on the brakes. Her car skidded to a stop about 50 feet from him. The man was tall, long hair, beard, wearing a brown jacket and jeans, heavy work boots. Was this the same man who'd been banging on the restroom door? He stood in the middle of the road, not moving, just staring at her car. Sarah's hands gripped the steering wheel. She couldn't go around him. The road was too narrow. Trees and ditches on both sides. The man started walking toward her. Sarah put the car in reverse, started backing up. The man walked faster. Sarah backed up faster, her car weaving slightly as she tried to keep it on the narrow road, while looking over her shoulder. The man started running, full sprint, coming right at her car. Sarah floored the reverse. The car shot backward. She made it back to the parking lot, spun the car around in a wild turn, and then made a decision. She couldn't go past him on that exit road. So she'd go out the entrance. Sarah drove to the entrance ramp, the wrong way. If another car had been entering the rest area at that moment, they would have collided head on. But no one was there. The road was empty. Sarah merged back onto the highway, going the wrong direction for a few seconds before pulling a sharp U-turn. As she accelerated past the rest area's exit ramp, she saw him again. The man was standing on the shoulder, right where the exit merged onto the highway, just standing there, watching her drive away. Sarah drove for 20 minutes before she felt safe enough to call 911, told them what happened. They said they'd send an officer to check it out. She never heard what they found, if anything. To this day, Sarah thinks about that man. Who was he? What did he want? What would have happened if she hadn't reversed? If she'd tried to talk to him? If her car had stalled? She doesn't know. And she's grateful she never found out. 8 p.m. at the truck stop. Mike and his girlfriend Jenny were on their way home from a weekend trip to Nashville. They'd been driving for about 6 hours, taking turns behind the wheel, listening to podcasts, enjoying the journey. At 8 p.m. they stopped at a large truck stop, the kind with dozens of pumps, a convenience store, showers for truckers, a restaurant attached. The place was busy. Trucks on one side, regular vehicles on the other, people coming and going constantly. Mike pulled up to a pump, started fueling while Jenny went inside to use the restroom and grab snacks. Mike finished pumping, moved the car to a parking spot, went inside himself, used the restroom, came back out. Jenny was still inside getting snacks. Mike sat in the car scrolling his phone, waiting. A few minutes later, Jenny came out with a bag of chips, candy, and 2 energy drinks. She got in. They left. Mike merged back onto the highway. Traffic was moderate. Other cars and trucks moving along at 70 miles per hour. Everything seems normal. The realization. About an hour later, traffic had thinned out. The sun had set. Darkness covered the highway. Mike noticed a truck behind them. An older pickup. Dark color. Hard to see details in the night. Mike changed lanes to pass a slower vehicle. The truck changed lanes too. Mike got back in the right lane, put the car on cruise control, settled in. The truck stayed behind them, not passing, just following. Other vehicles passed them. The truck never did. Mike mentioned it to Jenny. That truck's been behind us for a while. Jenny turned to look. Maybe he's just going the same way. Maybe. But the truck got closer. Not quite tailgating, but close. Staying in the right lane, never attempting to pass even though the left lane was open. An hour went by. The truck was still there. Mike's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. No signal. The GPS had stopped working. "We're supposed to change highways soon," Mike said, "but I don't remember which exit." Jenny's phone was also without signal. The map had frozen. 20 minutes later, Mike saw an exit. The sign said it connected to the highway they needed. "I think this is it," Mike said. He took the exit. The truck took it too. Jenny looked back. "He's still following us." The exit led to a smaller highway, still paved, still marked, but quieter, darker. Then Mike saw detour signs, orange signs with black arrows, directing them off the highway onto a smaller road. "This doesn't seem right," Jenny said, but the signs were official looking, and Mike didn't know the area. He followed the detour. The road got smaller, then smaller still. Pavement turned to gravel. Gravel turned to dirt. And the truck was still behind them. "Mike, I don't like this," Jenny said, her voice tight. "I know, I am turning around." But the dirt road was narrow. Trees pressing close on both sides. Mike couldn't find a place to turn around safely. Then he saw something ahead. The road was blocked. A large sign. Barricades. Mike stopped. The truck stopped behind them. Mike looked in his rearview mirror. He could see the truck's headlights, the silhouette of someone sitting in the driver's seat. A man. But no details. Just shadow. "What's he doing?" Jenny whispered. "I don't know." Mike started to turn the car around. 3-point turn on the narrow road. As he did, the truck suddenly lurched forward, turned sideways, blocked the road completely. Mike stopped. The truck sat there, engine running, headlights pointed at the trees, completely blocking their way back. "Mike," Jenny's voice was shaking. "Go forward. The road's blocked. Go around it." Mike looked at the barricade ahead. There was a small gap on the right side, between the barricade and the trees. Mike drove forward slowly. His car bounced over uneven ground, scraped past the barricade, made it through. Behind them, the truck's headlights swung around, started moving again. Mike floored it. The car fishtailed on the dirt road, loose gravel spraying. Mike fought to control it, got the car straightened out, pushed the accelerator harder. Up ahead, an intersection. Mike turned left without thinking. Just away. Away from the truck. Away from whoever was driving it. Another turn. Then Mike cut the headlights. "What are you doing?" Jenny gasped. "I can't see him if he can't see us." Mike drove slowly in near total darkness. Just enough moonlight to make out the road. Trees on both sides reduced to black shapes. No headlights in the mirror. No sound of an engine behind them. They drove like that for 10 minutes. Then Mike turned the headlights back on. They were on a different dirt road. No sign of the truck. No idea where they were. It took them another 30 minutes of navigating by guesswork before they found their way back to a real highway, a real road with signs and streetlights and other cars. Mike's hands were shaking on the wheel. Jenny was crying silently. They never saw the truck again, never figured out who was driving it, never understood what he wanted. But Mike knows this. If they'd stopped when the truck blocked their way, something bad would have happened. Something they wouldn't have walked away from. The cheap room. Daniel was driving from Arizona to Missouri, visiting his girlfriend who was in her last semester of college. The drive was 18 hours. Too long to do in one shot. Daniel's plan was to drive until midnight, stop at a cheap motel, sleep, continue in the morning. At midnight, Daniel found himself in the middle of nowhere. Rural highway through flat farmland. No cities, no towns. Just occasional exits leading to small clusters of buildings. Daniel took an exit advertising food and lodging. Found a McDonald's, a Taco Bell, a gas station, and one motel. The motel was old, run down, paint peeling, sign flickering, but it was cheap, $35 a night. Daniel pulled into the empty parking lot, only 2 other cars there. The motel had maybe 20 rooms. Most of them were dark. Daniel got a room from the office, room 12 on the ground floor. door opening directly to the parking lot. Inside, the room was basic. Bed, TV, bathroom. Nothing fancy but not disgusting. Daniel could deal with it for one night. He got ready for bed, turned off the lights, laid down. Less than 2 minutes later, someone knocked on the door. The first visitor. Daniel froze. Who would be knocking at midnight? Another knock. Harder. Daniel got up, crept to the window, moved the curtain aside slightly. A man stood outside. Scraggly appearance, long hair, beard, dirty clothes. Someone who looked like they'd been living rough. The man knocked again. Daniel didn't answer. The man waited, looking at the door. Then he walked away. Daniel watched him disappear around the corner of the motel, let out a breath. He went back to bed, turned on the TV, tried to settle his nerves. 30 minutes passed. Daniel was starting to relax. Then another knock. The second visitor. Daniel went to the window again. This time, a different man. This one was wearing all black. A hooded jacket with the hood up, face partially obscured, standing at the door like a shadow. He knocked, waited, then tried the door handle. The door was locked. Thank God. The man tried the handle again, harder, like he expected it to open. Then he walked away. Daniel's heart was pounding. 2 different men. 2 attempts to get into his room. What the hell was going on? He sat on the bed, TV on, all the lights still off, trying to decide what to do. Should he leave? Pack up and drive away? It was past midnight. He was exhausted. Where would he go? Another 30 minutes. No more knocks. Daniel started to think maybe it was over. Then the first man came back. The third visit. This time he knocked louder, more insistent. Daniel watched through the window. The man knocked several times, stood there waiting. Knocked again. Daniel's mind raced. Should he call the police? The motel office? Who would even help him? All his lights were off. The TV was on but not loud. There was no car directly in front of his room. He'd parked a few spaces away. How did these men even know someone was in this room? The man finally left after several minutes. Daniel watched him disappear into the darkness. Then Daniel made a decision. He wasn't sleeping tonight. He'd stay awake, wait until sunrise, then leave. He sat on the bed, TV on low volume, watching the door, listening for any sound outside. Hours passed. 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. No more visitors, just silence. At 6 a.m. the sky started to lighten. Daniel packed his things, checked out, got back on the highway. He drove straight through to his girlfriend's college. Didn't stop again except for gas. To this day, Daniel doesn't know who those men were, what they wanted, why they targeted his room specifically. But he knows he was lucky. Lucky the door was locked. Lucky they didn't break in. Lucky he survived the night. The GPS trick. Rachel and her friend Mia were driving home from a concert in Ohio. It was midnight. They were tired but happy, singing along to songs from the concert. They stopped at a gas station. Both went inside, used the restroom, got snacks, came back to the car. Rachel looked at her GPS. The route had changed. "That's weird," she said. "It's taking us on a highway instead of the interstate." "Maybe there's traffic," Mia suggested. Maybe. Rachel didn't think much of it. She followed the GPS directions. They exited the interstate, got on a quiet highway. No other cars, no lights, just darkness. After several miles, the GPS directed them onto a smaller road. A 2-lane road with no streetlights, just 3 houses spaced far apart. All of them looked abandoned. "This feels wrong," Mia said. "The GPS says it's a shortcut." But Rachel was starting to feel uneasy too. The train. The GPS announced a railroad crossing ahead. Rachel slowed down, looking for the tracks. Then suddenly they were right there. Rachel slammed on the brakes. A train sat on the tracks, blocking the entire road. But this wasn't an active train. The cars were covered in graffiti. The wheels were corroded with rust. It looked like it had been sitting there for years. No railroad lights, no crossing gates, no warning bells. Just an abandoned train in the middle of a dark road. Rachel and Mia sat in the car, staring at the train. "Something's wrong," Mia whispered. "I know." Rachel put the car in reverse, started backing up. As she did, she glanced in the rearview mirror, and her blood ran cold. The attack people were coming out of the grass, on both sides of the road, figures emerging from the darkness. 5, 6, 7 people running toward the car. They reached the car, grabbed the door handles, pulled. The doors were locked. Rachel screamed. Mia screamed. Rachel floored the car in reverse. The car shot backward. People running alongside, hands slapping the windows, trying to break in. Rachel spun the car around. A wild, uncontrolled turn. Almost went off the road. Got it straightened out. Then she accelerated. 50, 60, 70 miles per hour on that narrow, dark road. The people were behind them now, disappearing in the darkness. Rachel drove back to the highway, back to the gas station, pulled into the parking lot, both girls shaking, crying, hyperventilating. The realization. After they calmed down, they looked at the GPS. The route was back to normal, interstate all the way. No mention of that highway or that road. "Someone changed it," Rachel said, her voice hollow. "While we were inside, someone went into our car and changed the GPS. They couldn't remember if they'd locked the car doors. They'd been tired from the concert, distracted. It would have been easy to miss. Someone had watched them go inside, had gone to their car, had programmed a trap into their GPS, and they'd almost driven right into it. If they hadn't stopped at the train, if they'd gotten out of the car to look around, if the doors hadn't been locked when those people reached them. Rachel doesn't want to think about what would have happened. Carjacking, robbery, kidnapping, murder. She'll never know, and she's grateful for that. These stories are real. The people who experienced them are real, and the danger they faced was absolutely real. The open road represents freedom in American culture. The ability to go anywhere, see anything, chase horizons. But that freedom comes with risk, because the road doesn't just belong to you. It belongs to everyone, including people with darker intentions. Rest areas, motels, gas stations, GPS navigation, All things we trust without question. All things that can become tools for predators. So what can you do to protect yourself? First, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore that feeling. Don't talk yourself out of being cautious. Second, stay in populated areas when possible. Well-lit gas stations near cities. Chain hotels with security. Rest areas with other people around. Third, keep your doors locked. Always. Even when you're just running into a gas station for 2 minutes. Fourth, be aware of your surroundings. Notice who's around you. Notice vehicles that seem to be following. Notice when something changes. And finally, have a plan. Know what you'll do if something goes wrong, who you'll call, where you'll go, how you'll escape. The road can be dangerous, but it doesn't have to be a death trap. Awareness, caution, preparation, these things can save your life. If these stories affected you, leave a comment. Share your own experiences if you feel comfortable. And subscribe to American Gothic for more true stories from the dark side of America. Stay safe out there. Watch the road. And remember, not everyone traveling alongside you has good intentions. Until next time, this is American Gothic.